Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's makeup tutorial is this impromptu look. It's a mint frost eyeshadow with a glitter accent. Also, I'm doing some giveaways for the next 8 weeks over on my Instagram, so if you're not following me, do so. I've just put my handle up on screen. So to start this look, I'm going to use the Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer in C8, and I'm just going to use this across my eyelids. This will work as a nice base for our eyeshadow, but also we're going to be doing foundation after our eyes, so this is just a nice way to make sure that the skin all matches. Have you ever done your eyes first and then your foundation, and then you've realised that your brow bone really just doesn't look like it matches the rest of your skin? This will help to prevent that. Sometimes we like a lighter brow bone, but if you've gone darker with your foundation, your brow bone can be a telltale sign that your foundation doesn't actually match your skin. I'm using a Real Techniques synthetic brush to work this over the skin. I find it's just one of the better brushes for buffing in any cream or liquid based products. The palette I'm going to use is the Natasha Denona Tropic palette, which was sitting on my desk, and the first colour I'm going in with is Fake Tan. Again, I'm using another synthetic blending brush by Real Techniques, and we're taking this colour all the way through the socket and up towards the eyebrow bone. So this is going to be our transition shade, and that means it's going to be the first colour that we lay down. It's the colour that you take out the furthest, and this is the colour that we blend all the other eyeshadows into. So we don't take any of the other eyeshadows higher than this transition shade. That's what's going to give us that nice gradient. You want to also pour that colour ever so slightly onto the mobile eyelid, just below that socket line. That way when we go over the mobile eyelid with the concealer later, we'll get more of a defined line between the eyelid itself and the eyeshadow, which gives you more of a cut crease appearance. So I've layered this eyeshadow a couple of times. As you can see, it's quite a nude shade, so you really do need to build it up to get more of that orangey appearance out of it. But you'll see that it does layer quite well. They're a nice creamy matte finish, so they blend into the skin beautifully. And also we've got that Revolution concealer down as a base, which gives the eyeshadow something to stick to, but it also helps with the colour payoff, so it does make it a little bit more intense than if you was to apply it to the skin with no base. Moving on to the next colour, we want to stick with the same tone, so I'm going to mix Fake Tan with a little bit of Cocoa, which is another matte finish. And although it's a dark chocolate brown shade, mixing it with the Fake Tan that we've already got on the eyes will lighten that brown, so we've got something in between that works well with the colour that we've already got on the eyes but is slightly darker. I'm applying it with a duo fibre brush. This one is by MAC. Using a duo fibre brush means we apply less colour, so we can build it up slowly. The first area that I've built up is that outer C shape, and then I'm pulling what's left on the bristles through the socket, and I'm working the brush in circular motions. And because it is slightly tapered, the highest bristles will concentrate the colour through the socket, and the bristles that surround that centre point will help to blend the colour and disperse it outwards, so you get a really beautiful blend that doesn't take a lot of hard work. On a small fluffy crease brush, I'm concentrating that colour through the socket, but I'm making sure that that goes between the socket lines, so it does go a little bit on the mobile lid and it does go just above that socket. And again, the reason for this is because at this point we don't know how high we're going to take the crease with the concealer, so you want to make sure that the intensity is all throughout this area, so that wherever you cut your crease with the concealer, you'll still have that gradient from darker brown to lighter brown. I'm also taking the mix of Cocoa and Fake Tan underneath those lower lashes all the way across, and I'm also connecting that with the outer corner of the top lid. Like I always say, you need to frame the eyes. To do this, just make sure you use a really light hand and just use what's left on the bristles of your brush. There's a couple of options for cutting your crease. You can use something like Pure White by MAC, or you can use the Makeup Revolution in Pure White. The reason I prefer to use a white is so that the eyeshadow that goes on top of it will be more true to the colour that's in the eyeshadow pan, and it will also be super vibrant. Now don't worry about being so precise with this, because we are going to be tapping the eyeshadow on top, and then we're going to be going over this crease area with a glitter accent, so it will disguise any kind of imperfections. It really doesn't have to be perfect. When I get towards the outer edge, I tend to just fade it off and tap it in with my finger so that it just blends into the eyeshadow that's already on the eye. But don't worry too much, because we are going to be covering this with eyeshadow. The first shade I'm going to take is Limoncello, and this is really frosted and beautifully reflective. I found the best way to apply these are with your fingers, because that's the best colour payoff you're going to get with these type of eyeshadows. You tend to lose a lot of it in the bristles otherwise, so yeah, use your finger. Again, don't worry if you go over the edge and it starts to look a little bit blurred because you're using your finger. That's going to be covered up with our glitter accent anyway, so you really don't need to worry. I'm now going in with Mint Frost and pushing that over the centre of our eyelids and fading that into Limoncello using a tapping motion. And then I'm going to use Exotic, which is a slightly darker green, and I'm pressing that onto the outer third of the mobile eyelid. Going back to my small crease brush, I'm working a little bit of cocoa onto the outer third of the mobile eyelid into that exotic green. Now don't be afraid to cover up exotic because you can just go back in and tap some over the top. At the moment it's about layering those colours so we get a really nice smoke on the outer edge coming towards the centre. I'm going in with a really tiny brush now and dipping that into limoncello. I'm now going to go along that crease line and just redefine it, and I'll also do that with the mint frost, and it will just make it a little bit sharper before we go in with our glitter accent. Going back in with some of our white, I'm applying this to the inner corners of the eyes and blending it out with my finger, and this is going to work as a base for a little bit more of that limoncello shade underneath the eyes. If you tap the colour onto the base first, it's going to grab, and once that's in place, if you swipe over it with the brush, you'll get more of a metallic finish to it. Moving on to eyeliner, I'm using Eyeko's Skinny Liquid Eyeliner in black, and I'm going to use this to line all the way across the top lid and create a bit of a wing. There aren't many liquid pens out there that will go over frosted eyeshadow without drying out. This one is so good. It doesn't seem to pick up any of the eyeshadow, it stays really liquidy, and it also stays really black. Many of them tend to become a bit chalky looking or a bit milky because they pick up the eyeshadow and this dilutes the black. This one doesn't do that, it stays black. I have a tutorial on using different eyeliners and different mediums, and I will link that in the description bar for you. Sorry I'm so low on the screen, I didn't realise I was going out of shot. But as you can see, I've created a simple winged liner. Moving on, I've got some glitters on my desk and I've mixed a couple of them together to create a bit of a vibrant green, and I've mixed that with a little bit of the Inglot Duraline. So I've now got a glitter paste and I'm using a paintbrush just to paint that onto the socket line. I'm going for a kind of medium thickness. You can go really tiny and you can use a really tiny paintbrush to do so, but I like it to be quite noticeable with this look, so I've gone for a medium thickness. Next up, I'm taking the Inglot eyeliner in number 77, which is super black, and I'm using this across the waterline. I'm also going to use it to tightline. I'm going back in with a little bit of that cocoa eyeshadow and running that close to the lower lash line to softly smoke it out. Off camera, I'm going to apply these lashes by Eldora. These are the M111 lashes, and I'm also going to apply some bottom lashes. To see this in more depth, I actually have a tutorial which I will link below for you. Moving on to the skin, I'm going to use the Ordinary foundation. This is their coverage foundation. It's a semi-matte finish. I believe it comes in around 21 shades, which is pretty good. It's a full coverage foundation but very lightweight, which I really like. It's really comfortable to wear, and I've got oily skin and I find this wears really well throughout the day if I've prepped my skin. Next, I'm taking this contour pan by Mascara Beauty in the shade Stone, and I'm working this into the hollows of the cheeks using a stipple motion, and again I'm using a synthetic brush to apply this because it works best with creams. This one is the 117 Petit Defined Buffer Brush by ZOEVA. Once I've stippled that in with a brush, I then go in with my sponge that I use to apply my foundation, just to go over it to soften it and make sure it looks quite natural. To bronze the skin up a little bit more, I'm going to use the Benefit Hoola, and the brush I'm using is the 127 Luxe Sheer Cheek Brush by ZOEVA. Using a light hand, I'm buffing this over my cheeks, and I'm also going to take a small amount around my hairline. This will help give the skin a more sun-kissed look. My face is so much lighter than my body because I wear factor 50 on my face. So where we've had a couple of nice days, my body's got a bit of colour, but my face definitely hasn't. I'm going to set that all in place using the Benefit Professional Agent Zero Shine, and I'm just dusting that through the centre of my face to make sure it's not shiny. To add some highlight to the skin, I'm using this one by Becca. It's in the shade Vanilla. I've not had this one before. I received it in the post, that's why it's on my desk, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll just swatch it on my hand so you can see. It's so pretty. So using a highlighter brush by ZOEVA, I'm dusting this onto my cupid's bow and the tops of my cheekbones. You can also take a very small amount underneath the arch of your eyebrow, and again this will make your brow bone look prominent and it will just catch the light, which is so beautiful. Moving on to blush, I'm going to apply Bare Minerals Gen Nude Blusher in the shade Let's Go Nude. And I'm softly dusting this onto the apples of the cheeks and pulling the colour backwards into where we've got that bronzer. I love these blushes, they just give you a flush of colour. You can build them up but they aren't too intense, which I really love, and they just give you the most natural beautiful flush. For lips, I'm going to use Buxom's Plump Line Lip Liner in the shade Stealth. Ignore the one that was holding up from the Maybelline, it was a GG one, which was another alternative, but I decided to go with this one. It's a beautiful nude shade. You know me, always opting for a nude. What I love about these lip liners is they're quite creamy, so they're really comfortable on the lips. They are a matte finish, well this one is, and it's not too drying, which I really like. Over that I'm going to apply some lip balm. This one is the Emile Corden number 72 Cocoa, which smells of coconut and vanilla, which is really beautiful, and it just gives the most beautiful shine. So that completes this impromptu look. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I just picked up some things that I already had on my desk, which was nice because it's a little challenge in itself to come up with something that you haven't already created in the past. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I think this is a really nice look for summer. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Please let me know what you thought in the comment section below and we can have a little chit chat. Hit subscribe if you haven't already done so, and don't forget you can follow me outside of YouTube. My social handles are on screen, and also if you've missed last week's tutorial, it will be up on screen for you now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!